Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I know that this is quite different than what we're used to, but I don't have any art videos planned just for the next little bit, just dealing with some family stuff. So I thought it would be a really great opportunity to actually crack into the Q&A video that I got you guys to submit some questions for if you had any about a week or so ago. And I have them all here on my iPad. I merged a couple of them together just to make this go by a little faster. But yeah, I thought it would be fun. We can hang out together. I've got a cup of coffee. You can just throw me on in the background as per usual, and we'll just chat for a little bit. All right. Question number 1. What is your style inspired by? Video games, shows, etc. That's a good question. I don't really feel like I have a style, but for what inspires me aesthetically, I'm super inspired by open world video games like RPGs, MMOs. Dragon Age specifically is a huge well of inspiration for me. Dungeons and Dragons is a new well of inspiration for me that I take from. I definitely grew up with Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z, a lot of old style 90s animes that I think still are kind of reflected in my style today. So I would say those things. Can you do another character design? Yes, of course, all the time. I don't know what specific character design you're referring to. If you mean the random character cup that I have, yes, that will be soon, like sooner than later. If you mean redesigning an old character, I can. I have to go digging because a lot of my old characters are like horses, which I guess we could probably make something work. What is your drive/motivation that pushes you to create? I just really like drawing. I don't have like a secret for motivation or something that really pushes me forward. I just really like to draw, and I like to be good at drawing. So if I feel like I'm falling behind, sometimes that pushes me a little bit further. But mostly I just love drawing. Even when I'm having an art block and taking a break, I just love drawing. How do you get through a creative block / what do you do if you experience art block or if you are conflicted on what exactly to draw? Art block is a tricky subject. I think a lot of people ask artists they know or follow what to do when they're in an art block, but I don't think there's like a systematical answer to that is the fix-all. I think you have to reflect why you're going through an art block. If it has to do with something that's blocking you in your personal life, emotionally, that's kind of what I'm going through right now, and that's an outside factor. And for me, it's a lot easier to just kind of let it run its course. I don't like to create, and I don't feel good creating if I'm in kind of like a toxic mindset. So I think allowing yourself to take a break is really important. If you experience art block or if you are conflicted on what exactly to draw. If you're blocked because you don't know what to draw, there's tons of ways you can get around that. You can just practice, study reference photos, practice things like hands or coloring. Something that I actually personally like to do if I'm feeling a creative block on what to draw is I actually like to focus my creative energy into a different hobby that's not drawing or painting. So things like crafting. I'll actually show you something. So when I was going through a block when I was starting my D&D campaign, I actually got really into making these pieces of foam terrain for our battle maps and things like that, and that was a really great creative outlet that wasn't putting pressure on myself to draw something. So I think if you are feeling creatively blocked but still want to make stuff and are just unsure of what direction, try something different. Try to stretch those artistic muscles in a way that you haven't yet. And when you go back to drawing, you might find you feel a little bit more refreshed. I don't know. Creative block is such a personal thing, and I think it just takes a lot of self-reflection and being like kind to yourself, because it's just a temporary block. It's not forever. What's good, homie? Most things are good. My coffee is actually phenomenal, so. What kind of art sparks joy for you to create? I love character design. It's my favorite. It's pretty much all I do. If you've been around on my channel, you know that I love me some good OCs, specifically Dragon Age OCs. What has been your favorite random character design thus far? Ooh, way back on my channel, actually I used the thumbnail for popping up these like questions on my YouTube, but a while back I did a random character cup, and it was like a fire centaur spirit thing, and I think that's my favorite. I actually went back and watched that video the other day, and I was like, it still holds up. It's still good. I really like that one. That one was really fun. What is your zodiac sign? I am a Cancer. Best ways to improve. Ooh. So the thing that most people say for improving is just draw. Practice. Just keep drawing. Keep doing it. Even if you draw the same thing every single day, you're gonna improve on it. If you want to improve, it kind of depends on which way you want to improve. Tackle one thing at a time. If you say struggle with hands and feet, pick one or the other and really focus on them. A tip that I know a lot of other artists that I follow on YouTube recommend is when you're practicing a skill, so say you want to learn how to draw hands or you want to learn color theory or something like that, is to practice it, learn it, and then apply what you have been practicing to like a finished piece. Or have a finished piece in mind that you would like to do with this new skill that you're sort of practicing. That way you're actually applying it. Kind of like when you're in school and you spend, I don't know, a unit learning division in math, and then at the end of the unit you have a test on division. It's kind of the same idea. Also take breaks and draw things that you just have fun drawing, because if you sit down and it's always practice and you are wanting to rip your hair out because you just want to draw what you want to draw, allow yourself to do that, because you will go crazy if you don't. What time of day do you like to draw most and why? I like to draw either early in the morning if I wake up on time or later at night. That midday area I don't really like, because I find I get distracted by everything going on around me. I'm not the best at drawing like in a coffee shop, or if I'm hanging out with friends and they're talking at me. It's really hard for me to focus. I prefer actually silence while I work. Sometimes I'll put music on, but not all the time. So those quiet hours during the day, either late at night or kind of early in the morning, are my personal favorites. Who are your favorite artists and which ones do you look up to? I have a lot. Really like Babs Draws. I really like Audra Claire, Danica Sills. Those are like kind of three off the top of my head that I can think of right at this moment. For artists that I look up to, Matthew Mercer, even though he doesn't really draw so much anymore, but he's an artist in his own right, and I look up to him immensely, and those are people that I aspire to be like, I guess. What's your favorite medium? Just a good old pen and or pencil. Nothing fancy. Favorite things, okay, hold on. Favorite things to draw, do you have a boyfriend? Best gifts to make with art for others, favorite way to sketch. 4 questions in one. Favorite things to draw, cute girls, OCs, Ponies? Sometimes? Do you have a boyfriend? Yes. Best gifts to make with art for others. Ooh, I don't know. If your friends are like mine, it doesn't really matter what you make. Just the fact that you made something is like the best. Last year, was it last year? A couple Christmases ago, I took like some white ornaments and I dipped them in nail polish, like sitting on top of water, and they created this like cool marble effect. That's really neat. Custom Christmas cards or holiday cards, sort of depending. If you have friends who have original characters, or if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you know, drawing their characters for them as a gift, I think would be a fantastic gift. I know I would really appreciate that. Anything thoughtful that comes from the heart. Favorite way to sketch? I hate sketching at a desk. I hate it. I feel so like trapped and confined. My favorite way to sketch, honestly, is either like curled up like a little gremlin on the couch with like all my blankets and my pillows, or I actually really like laying on my stomach on the ground. I know that's not practical for some of my bigger chested friends, but I am not big chested, so I can lay on my stomach no problem with no pain. So that's one of my favorites. Do you watch any other art YouTube channels? Yes, actually. I try not to watch too many, and I'll tell you why. I suffer a lot from, it's not imposter syndrome, it's just general comparison. Same with on Instagram. I find I get sucked into comparison really easily. It's a big flaw of mine. So I try to follow channels that are inspiring and are creative, but aren't necessarily other artists who are drawing and or painting, just because I don't want to feel trapped by what they're doing. So right now I'm super into a channel called Black Magic Craft, which is actually what inspired me to make these things. He's really great. He does lots of terrain and monster builds for tabletop RPGs. He's also Canadian, which is cool. Super into Good Mythical Morning. As far as art YouTubers go, Rebecca Blackwell Illustration is one of my faves. I really like Tricky Wagon. They're really cool. Danica Sills, as I mentioned before. Franerd. Can't not love Fran. Fran's great. Minnie Small. Her voice is like amazing. If Minnie Small could show up and just like tell me I'm doing a good job, I think I would be happy for the rest of my life and be like, I am doing a good job, thank you. When did you start drawing, and are you going to make a career out of it? I started drawing when I was really young. I really don't remember a time when I haven't been drawing. Am I gonna make a career out of it? Not likely. It'd be cool if I could, but I don't think that's in my future necessarily. I would actually love to make a career out of just generally entertaining people. If that happens to be with my art, then that's awesome. If not, no big deal. It'd be cool if it happened, but it's not really something I'm actively pursuing, if that makes sense. How did you find your art style? Again, I really don't feel like I have one, but it's cool that you guys think I do. I don't know, I think it's just the way that my brain processes like reference photos and shapes and how I try to make it make sense to me. I think based on the artists I follow and the things that I do find aesthetically pleasing, the type of art I like to look at and enjoy, I think definitely affects my style, whether that's subconscious or not. I think that's any artist. You probably will start to accidentally, for lack of a better term, replicate the type of art you consume, just because that's kind of always in your mind. It just kind of happens. Don't freak out about having an art style. I never have. I think that's why I feel like I don't have one, because it will come with time. It will just develop naturally. So look at lots of artists, be inspired by many things, and just let your hand do the work. See what happens. Do you have any advice for getting out of an art slump? I feel like all the art I create, I either don't like how it turns out or I don't have the motivation. Kind of like touching back on the art block thing, just allowing yourself time to have a break. I do know further in the question you mentioned that you're an AP art student, so you might not have time to really not work on things. I can tell you from all the artists I follow, and for all my many years on this earth, which is probably more than you think, of all the artists I've known, nobody that I know really likes their work. There's things that you can be proud of, but I find every creative person I know always looks back at a finished piece, sees all of the mistakes, all of the things that they could fix, and all the ways that they want to do better next time. So I think not liking what you're making is totally normal, and it's kind of the downside of having a creative brain, especially when your taste is a lot higher than the stuff you're able to produce. So I think we all have a vision of what we want to create, and then when we can't properly communicate that, like between our head and our hand, there's a frustration there. But it's totally normal. Just try not to be too hard on yourself. If you're in AP art class, you're probably getting critiques. So I would say to take those not to heart if people are saying things that you don't like, but listen, ask for good critiques as well. Ask for critiques from maybe your friends to just be like, hey, I'm looking at this thing and I don't really like anything in it. Can you help me find some things that are good, some things that I could improve on? It's really normal to not be super proud of what you've done, but it's not the end of the world, and you can always, just because you create a bad piece of art doesn't mean you're never going to create a good piece of art again in your life. You're fine. As for motivation, that's a really tricky one. Motivation is like a fleeting dancer dancing away in the moonlight, and every now and then you can catch her hand and samba with her for a little bit, but she is not a mistress that you should rely on for a fulfilling relationship. Routine is better than motivation. Getting up, sitting down, drawing every day, even just for 15 minutes just to start, and if you aren't feeling it after 15 minutes, you tried, you can pick it up another time. But relying on motivation for art is a crutch that I think a lot of people lean a little too hard on. And the more you sit down to practice drawing without relying on motivation, the easier it will come to kind of get into the groove of things. So I hope your class goes really well. I'm sure you're doing a lot better than you're probably giving yourself credit for, because artists are very hard on themselves, myself included. What are your favorite TV shows? I just finished Carmen Sandiego and She-Ra on Netflix, and I enjoyed both of those a lot. All-time favorite TV shows? Oh gee, this is so hard. Always really liked Pokemon. For like favorite animes, Soul Eater is one of my favorites. My ringtone has been the opening for Soul Eater for like 10 years. Super duper love K-On!, super cutesy. Sailor Moon is always going to be a favorite. Cardcaptor Sakura is a huge favorite. If you haven't noticed, my tattoos are from Cardcaptors. It changes all the time. I don't know. That question's hard. What got you started in art? Honestly, I think it was just drawing as a kid, having people compliment my drawings, and then really liking that and wanting to continue to get sweet compliments on my drawings. And then as I got a little older, I was super into Neopets. A lot of people my age, I think, who are artsy probably dinked around on Neopets back in its heyday, and people would draw their Neopets and put it on their pages, and I thought that was so cool and I wanted to be part of it. That also really skyrocketed my original character designing fever that I've never broken out of. what is your biggest fear when it comes to art? People being mean. I think when you put your art on the internet, that's kind of like I think that's a fear a lot of people have. It's not criticism of my art that I find hard, it's criticism of me personally, which I know I shouldn't take to heart. But I think that's my biggest fear, is putting something out there into the world and then having a very negative reaction that has nothing to do with the art piece itself. That, and I think the fear of not developing further, which is impossible because if I draw every day, I will obviously develop at least a little bit. But I think the fear of being stagnated in my own development is definitely another big fear. 1 second here, and a coffee break. Do you still make/wear cosplay? Ooh. I haven't made cosplay in a very long time. I fell out of love with that community a while ago. It just became very toxic, very expensive, and I wasn't enjoying the people I was meeting while cosplaying, and I wasn't enjoying the way I was being treated while cosplaying, if that makes sense. It wasn't bad, people weren't being mean to me. It felt like people were trying to be my friend or to snuggle up to me for reasons that aren't good. Wow, that was the worst description ever. Basically, cosplay we just had a falling out with each other. I still have a lot of my costumes. I still like the idea of wearing them for sure. It's just, like I said, it's pretty expensive and it's a lot of effort to put into something that I'm not particularly in love with at the moment. So right now all of my creative energy is kind of going into my art and my YouTube channel and my D&D campaign. So like the closest thing to making cosplay, again, has been like making these cool rock things out of foam, and I love that. I'm sure I'll do it again. I'm sure I'll pick it up. It is very fun, but for the moment, it's not something I'm really pursuing, and I have a big disconnect when I look at photos of myself in my like old cosplay. It doesn't feel like I'm looking at me anymore, and that makes me feel kind of weird too. So I'm sure I'll do it again, just not right now. Okay, and this is the last question. What is your favorite piece of 2018? My favorite piece of 2018. I would say my favorite, I have two. So my favorite, just general kind of art piece, I think would be my Willow redesign, which you can find on my channel. She's the one that's on my banner. It's not like the best drawing in itself, but I think just the process of redesigning a character that was so important to me as a kid and being pretty proud of how it turned out. I really like the sketched lines with like the digital painting on top of it. So I would say that was probably my favorite piece of 2018. As far as YouTube goes, my favorite YouTube video of 2018 is actually the one that I posted before this one, which is my my little story video called The Guide. Doesn't have a whole lot of views, but that's okay. It was me revisiting my passion for theater that I lost a little bit along the way of my life journey, and I'm kind of retouching with that, and it was just something totally different. It was really outside the box for me of things I normally do, so I'm proud that I ended up doing it and uploading it here. So I would say that one is my favorite. Alright guys, well that's it. Thank you for the questions. A lot of them were really, really great. Some of you left just some like really nice, kind messages that warms my heart and further establishes just how much I appreciate you guys, and I miss chatting with you all, which is why I wanted to do this video. So I hope you have a lovely day. Hope we had a good hangout session. You can let me know if there was some like cool moments where you really resonated. If not, you can not leave a comment, that's fine too. Okay, you know I'm really bad with goodbye, so I love you. Goodbye, bye, bye, bye.